Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Retirement Blueprint. I'm your host today, Paul Gebhard, with my special guest, Mr. Tim Lofton. Tim, welcome back to the show, my friend.
Hey, Paul.
Good to see you.
Hey, glad to be here.
And you're looking good, man. You've been working out a little bit or something?
I have not, but I have been eating better.
I've been eating
Yes,
right.
my wife, and she'll probably kill me for saying this on television, but she might have mentioned that that's a good idea for me to start watching what I was eating and to, you know.
Mama knows best, Tim.
I'm not saying that I gained a few pounds, but I'm not saying I didn't.
What are you admitting exactly? You want to blame COVID?
Yeah, it was COVID.
Okay, good.
It was COVID, except that she would say that, well, what was happening there before COVID? The same snacking pattern was happening with post-COVID and pre-COVID.
So it's not totally COVID.
No, it's not totally COVID, but I have been eating better, so thank you.
Good stuff. How about the kiddos? How they been?
Good? Yeah, good. Yeah. You know, getting ready for sports to start up again soon, and so that'll be great. You know, when you have, you know, everybody that has two kids at home, you'll understand this. It's super easy, right? One parent takes one kid, one parent takes another kid. Once you go to three or more, it's a zone defense, right? I mean, you're relying on carpools, and you know, we have like these multiple text with like 5 to 10 people on them, and like who's getting the kids this week, and so it really is. It's the village to raise a child on our cul-de-sac for sure.
What a perfect segment into the importance of a plan.
Right.
It
is. We do planning with everything, Paul, including getting our kids to and from school.
It's good. Now we're going to shift it over to financial planning. Because that's the big one, right?
I think that's what people tuned in for.
And if we do it right, I mean, the goal is to stay retired.
Assuming they're still watching after this first couple minutes, right?
I'm sure they are. I'm sure they will. Okay, I wanted to jump in today and talk a little bit about one of the biggest questions I hear over and over again is, I'm scared to death of outliving my income. I mean, that's one of the things that folks talk about. But let me ask you this, because I wonder, how has guaranteed income changed over the years?
Right. Well, that's a great topic. A lot. You know, we work real close to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, so we do get a lot of people from the base that come in, and they still have the traditional government pensions.
Yeah.
But they're kind of on an island of themselves for the most part. Your typical person that works for even a big corporation today does not have the traditional work there for 30 years and you'll retire and you'll get this lifetime income and you can't outlive it and it'll happen forever and ever and you ride off into the sunset. That doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And so we're responsible today, whether we want to be or not. And I would argue that most people don't want to be responsible.
Yeah.
But we're thrust into that role. And that's really where, you know, as a planner, you know, it's so important to help people understand that this is not a thing where you can bury your head in the sand and just hope it all works out.
Right.
I mean, you have to take this seriously.
Yeah.
And you have 30 plus years in most people's case to solve your problem. But you have to sit down with somebody and figure out what that means.
Right.
And so you remember the old the ING commercials where everybody was running around with their number under their arm, and that's a great commercial because that's a real thing.
Yeah.
Everybody has a number.
Yeah.
You know, when you start to think, all right, I'm going to need this amount of income to live on, and I'm going to get this in Social Security, or if I still do have a pension, those two numbers add up to a number that's usually less than what people need from a monthly basis to pay and do the things that they want to do. And so when we're doing those calculations, it's important to understand what your number is.
Yeah.
But how we get to that number today is so different than even 30 years ago. I mean, my grandfather retired from Ashland Oil. My dad retired from Ford Motor Company. They retired, they worked there, they got a lifetime of income, and they get a check in the mail every month. That's not how it works today. Now we have to figure out we're the ones that are going to be putting that check in the mail based on our savings patterns and what we do with our 401k or a plan offered through our employer.
Yeah. Haven't they become more personal pension plans now, Tim, than ever before?
Without a doubt. And so for the folks at home, when we talk about personal pension plans, understand that a pension in and of itself is basically an annuity. And I know that sometimes that's one of those words that people are like, oh my gosh, I read annuities were bad.
I heard,
We'll understand that everybody who has a pension owns an annuity. I mean, that's what it is. A defined benefit plan is nothing more than them taking a lump sum of money, buying an annuity that has a lifetime payout of a certain dollar amount. That's what it is. And so the personal pension plan, why it's so much better if you do your planning right than the traditional pension plan is this. You know, people retire. Maybe they, for whatever reason, they get sick, they pass away, they maybe got their pension for 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years. It's a lifetime pension unless your lifetime is over, right? With a personal pension, that can continue on. And so you still have, in many cases, depending on how you do it, the money that you put in to develop your personal pension income is typically, in most cases, still there even after you pass away, especially if you were to pass away early.
Let me ask you about that, actually. We're talking about pension plans. I mean, isn't it true that some of the bigger employers are actually encouraging people to take on their own pension plans now and move them out and deal with them on their own? Are we seeing that?
Definitely. So, you know, you see that STRS, which is our state of Ohio's teacher retirement system, Ohio Deferred Comp, offer what's called a PLOP, P-L-O-P. Basically, you're taking a plop of money from your pension. You're still getting a pension, but they're giving you a reduced pension and a lump sum payout. Now, don't worry, that lump sum payout still can be rolled over to an IRA. It's not taxable if you do it right. But that gives people kind of the best of both worlds. It gives them, you know, kind of a chunk of money to be able to do what they want to do with it, as well as a lifetime income. One of the things, you know, a lot of times we see, Paul, is that if your income is solely based on Social Security and pension, and you haven't done a lot of savings yourself, one of the issues you run into is, what if I need a chunk of money for something? How do I get that? Because my income is just that. It's income. There's no cash value to it that I can tap into. So that's where personal savings becomes so important. But for the folks that haven't done that, that plop is a really powerful tool that we've seen used in a very powerful way for people that qualify for it.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, try calling Social Security and telling them you need 10 grand, right? See how that conversation goes. That probably won't go too far. You know, so what do you say to folks out there? Because I know there's people out there thinking this right now after you just spoke about plops and some of the things they can do. It's a lot of responsibility. Like you said, I don't know a lot of people really want that. They're a little concerned about being in charge of that maybe, or how important is it for them to have a professional to work with to help them with all the options of building and maintaining that personal pension plan, Tim?
Well, I would ask this question. You know, if you needed heart surgery, that's pretty serious. It's not something you're going to do yourself. If you were going to build a new home, that's probably not something you're going to do yourself. This is the most important thing that you will ever do, is planning for retirement. If you don't get it right, if you're wrong, you find that out at age 70, 75, 80. That's when you find it out. There's no way to fix it at that point. So having a plan and taking the time and the ownership and the responsibility that's already thrust upon us, right? I mean, we're given that. We know we have to do it. But, you know, picking up the phone and calling us and letting us walk you through how you build a plan utilizing the retirement blueprint. This is something we've been doing for 27 years.
Yeah, and speaking of picking up the phone, I understand you have an offer for the viewers today.
Yes.
If they call in, would you share that with them?
Sure. So for the folks at home today, if you come in and see us, we have a couple things that we give to you complimentary for coming to visit with us. No strings attached, not writing a check. All you have to do is basically come in and sit down with us, and we're going to put together 2 things for you, and one of them is the retirement blueprint planning sheet. That's where we basically will take all the stuff that you have in that 3-ring binder at home with all your financials, and we're going to put it up on our big screen in our conference room, and you're going to be able to see in black and white exactly what your retirement looks like. The second thing that we're going to give you is a copy of the Riskalyze report. And for those of you that are just tuning in for the first time, Riskalyze is a software that won the Nobel Prize for Economics. It's a great piece of software that really helps identify how much risk are you taking. Are you taking the right amount? Are you taking too much? When do you want to know that? This is the time where you can pick up the phone, give us a call, sit down for a complimentary time together, and we will do the same things that we've done for so many people before you. We are experts at retirement. That's what we do.
Yeah.
We help people navigate to and through retirement.
I love it. And make sure they enjoy it.
And have a good time.
That's right. That's what this is all about, enjoying your retirement. But it starts with you because, again, it's complimentary. It's a complimentary review. Only thing it's going to cost you is to take action right now. Make that call because you're the one in control. You hire Tim and his team. They go to work for you. 855-684-3485. We got a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages.
As you prepare for, transition into, and navigate retirement, there's one thing you're sure to have: questions. Lots of questions about retirement. Like, when can I retire? Will I run out of money? Who pays for nursing home care? And many, many more. Axum Planning and Wealth Management uses the Beta Blueprint retirement planning software to help answer your questions. This program takes stacks of documents from every area of your financial life and converts them into one large picture. Just as you would never buy a house without seeing it first, why would you ever retire without being able to visualize it? By being able to see the whole picture, you can then make better decisions about your retirement. First, the blueprint looks at your top goals and concerns. Then, we look at your age and the trigger age decisions you have to make, like when to take Social Security, Medicare, and required minimum distributions. Next, we analyze your fixed income streams and compare that to your retirement lifestyle. For most people, their lifestyle exceeds their income, so we determine which assets to tap to make up the difference. When looking at assets, there are 3 key numbers we want you to know. The first number is the risk score of what you own. Every investor has a risk tolerance, and every investment has a risk score. The risk scale runs from 1 to 99, and the S&P 500 has a score of 78. We use a scientific framework that won the Nobel Prize for Economics for its ability to identify true risk tolerance. If you were taking too much risk, when would you want to know? The second number we want to know is the maximum drawdown of what you own. Maximum drawdown is the maximum loss from a market peak to a market trough. The maximum drawdown of the S&P 500 in 2008 was about 51%. What was the maximum drawdown of what you own? And the third number is your annual withdrawal rate percent. If you're taking too much here, you could run out of money. Finally, we look at your insurance and long-term care. Do you have life insurance? If so, what type, and does it expire? We analyze the income reduction from losing a spouse. We want to know if the surviving spouse will be protected. Have you planned for long-term care? Do you know all your health care options? Being able to put all this information in picture format is like watching holistic planning come to life. Your financial picture helps us identify the potential cracks and red flags in your overall retirement plan. Remember, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Discover the power of the picture for your retirement. Learn how to get a blueprint of your life.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Retirement Blueprint. I'm your host, Paul Gebhard, with my guest today, Tim Lofton. Tim, we're talking about income, retirement. We're getting people ready. We're getting them prepared, right?
Right.
Or they're ready to do battle, right? They're ready to take on this thing we call retirement. I wanted to ask you, because we talked a little bit about pension plans and how people are going to have to be in charge and make it more of a personal pension plan. What are some options that they can look at in that pension plan?
Well, you know, one of the things that we talk to clients about is taking that ownership. When you retire, think about this. You become the CEO of your retirement plan.
I like that.
You're in charge.
I like it.
You're the one that's making the decisions. And who you surround yourself with, and this is what the retirement blueprint is built around, is, you know, having that that CPA that's doing tax planning. We've talked about taxes and tax planning on many episodes.
Yeah.
The estate planning and having the estate planning attorney make sure that the things that you want to have happen are going to happen.
Yes.
The income plan, the tax plan, the investment plan, all of that works together. You, as the CEO, have to choose those people. We make it real easy because they're all under one roof. We've already assembled the team together.
Wow.
All they have to do is hire us, right? But in the event that they don't, and our viewers say, well, I already have an estate planning attorney or I already have a CPA, those people all need to be talking. If they're not talking, that's really where we see, it's that weakest link in the chain.
Yes.
If you're missing one area of there, your plan is not complete. And so it's very important for all the people that you're paying money to give you advice, that all those people are talking.
I totally agree with that.
Right?
Because it's back to that ripple effect you talked about.
It is.
If there's that weakest link and that's not getting done, it's impacting every other aspect of the retirement.
Right. And we see it all the time. And what's interesting is when you have all those people sitting around the table together, they keep each other from making mistakes.
Right. Accountability.
Accountability.
Yes.
So we may make the suggestion, say our wealth management team, for example, says that we ought to do this or we ought to do that. The tax planning person may say, hey, that's a bad idea and here's why. Instead of doing it in that account, we should do it in this account. That conversation has actually happened multiple times.
That's interesting.
The same with the estate planning attorney. We may talk about how we should do this or do that, and maybe we should set up an LLC for a company, and they say, no, that really should be a trust. And so having that accountability of everyone kind of looking at what your plan is through their lens makes a big difference in the outcome of the plan, right?
Absolutely.
So the end result being, well, how do we generate income? How do we go from taking the money that we've saved and then generating income from that? And I think one of the big mistakes that we see is that people want to fix one problem without actually putting a plan together. And so, for example, they may say, hey, I need, $1,500 a month, and that $1,500 a month is going to pay, some additional bills that I have in retirement after my Social Security and pension.
Right.
And so all they're focused on is getting that $1,500 versus saying, well, how are we going to grow that $1,500 over time to cover inflation? What about these other couple of things that we're going to have to pay for in addition to that? And what's the tax ramification? So you pulled out $1,500, but how much do we actually have to take out to make sure you get $1,500? And so the planning gives us all of those answers versus, immediately jumping in the weeds and trying to fix one problem.
Right.
Let's put a whole plan together based on everything that the client is looking to do now and in the future. So many times we think about things in segments.
Right.
Right. And so, like my kids right now are thinking about, I got to get to 16 so I can drive. Right.
Yeah. Prioritizing.
And then,
right.
When we're adults, we're like, oh, I want to get to 25 so I can rent a car. And then, I want to get to, then the numbers in retirement become, I want to get to 59 and a half so I don't have to pay a penalty when I pull my money out of my IRA. Or I want to get to 65 so I can claim Social Security. That tends to be one of the last stops that they make from a mental plan. Now, they may get to I know at 70 and a half, now age 72 because of the CARES Act on that required minimum distribution, but that's as far as people think.
Yeah.
Like that is kind of the last big date that people look at as, well, I've got to have a plan to there. They don't think past that.
Isn't that interesting?
It is interesting because that's where the mistakes get made because things are going to continue to get more expensive from 72 on.
Yes.
And I would say, for another 20 years, cost of living is going to at least double.
Yeah.
What's your plan for that?
What is it? And when was the last time you looked at your current one?
Right.
Right. You may have a plan, but you haven't reviewed it and adapted it to the changing times. And that's important too, right?
That's very important.
Yeah.
I mean, we're seeing that today with inflation.
Yeah. We got to take another break.
Okay.
But the phone's been going nuts. We got some spots left for everybody out there, but would you remind everybody what you've offered today?
Sure, of course. So again, for our viewers, two things real quick. Riskalyze report tells you how much risk you're taking. It gives you reverse look into times past. You can see in 2008 exactly how things fluctuated with what you own today. Wow. Also, looking forward into 2013, from 2008, when things did well, when interest rates increased, that report will give you those answers. Mm-hmm. The second thing is, we're going to take that 3-ring binder you have, put it in one sheet of paper, put it up on the screen in our office so that you can see exactly what your retirement looks like over the next 10 years, 20 years, and beyond.
Illustrate that blueprint you're talking about, that retirement blueprint. And if you're like me, visualization is huge. I just got to have it that way, right? The numbers, I can get a little bit dizzy sometimes, that's for sure. But look, none of it happens and none of it matters until it matters to you. To you, take the steps necessary because you're the boss. You heard Tim say it. You're the CEO. What's your team look like? Maybe you don't have a team. This is the opportunity to take advantage of that complimentary review with Tim and his. 855-684-3485. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages.
When was the last time you saw your financial professional? Are you getting the most out of the strategy that was created for you? Although you've done a great job finding someone to help plan for your future, are you 100% sure that you were given the right strategy? We can help answer these questions and more with a complimentary second opinion evaluation. We will take a look at what you have in place and then help determine if you're well positioned to get the most out of your future retirement income. In the event that it is not, we can help by making suggestions and showing you how to get on the right path. You wouldn't get just one opinion when it comes to a major health decision, so why would you treat your most important financial decision with such disregard? Call today for your no-cost, no-obligation second opinion evaluation to see if you're getting the most out of your retirement income plan.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Retirement Blueprint. I'm your host, Paul Gebhard, with my special guest today, Mr. Tim Lofton. Tim, just always enjoy your conversation. What I love the most about the information you share with folks is you take a different approach on where the details are. You get them to think about things a little bit differently. And I think that's powerful because we don't often think about the impacts of inflation.
Right.
You know, we're too busy thinking about having this amount of money specifically for, well, I used to make $5,000 a month. I want to make sure I make $5,000 a month when I'm in retirement.
Right.
And we don't think about, yeah, but that ain't $5,000 10 years from now. Mm-hmm. It's a wonderful thing you share. But I wanted to get into something today that, I find it a little bit dangerous, to be honest with you. And I just really wanted to get your take on folks out there that rely a lot on search engines and internet for information. What are some of the dangers that people run into by getting their financial planning information online?
Well, first of all, I don't think they get financial planning information online. I think they get investment information online.
Good point.
I don't think, at least our experiences, and I mean, this is talking almost 3 decades, we don't typically see people coming in with a plan. Now, what they're doing may be working, okay? So just because you have kind of solved the riddle for today doesn't make it a plan. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense.
So, most of the time when we have folks coming in, what they're doing is working. And so it's not that it's broken, it's that it has the potential to break in the future. That's our concern. The other thing is that when it breaks at a time that it's not fixable. So if we fix something at 60, 65, we're good to go when we look out 20, 30 years. If something breaks at 75 or 80, it's usually broken.
Right.
It's not something that we can recover from. And so that's part of it. The second piece is, we get a lot of folks that come in that are what we call DIYs or do-it-yourselfers.
Yeah.
And, a lot of times people at least in the wealth management world, seem to be offended that, these people are just off doing it themselves. Sure. But here's the thing, their results are great.
Yeah.
They sit down and show us their numbers and our wealth management team looks like, yeah, you did a pretty good job, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not that they can't do it.
Right.
The question is, when are they going to hang it up? And that's usually when they end up in our office. It's that they've recognized the weight of what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's easier to do it yourself in your 30s, 40s, 50s, even into your early 60s, because if you mess up, you still got plenty of time.
Right.
Right? An example, you asked for an example. During COVID, one of the things that dropped was gas prices significantly, right? Yep. When we saw gas get down to $1.85 a gallon, and people were trying to exploit that opportunity by investing in it, okay? So there was a couple different ways that you could do it. There was really only one way, but there's a couple different ways that people went about it. One is they invested in oil. Now, on the surface, that makes sense. You know, I can buy oil futures, or you know, they had ETFs that invested in oil, and the idea was that oil prices per barrel were way down, and so eventually that's going to go back up, and we're going to make a lot of money. And so they invested in those things, and you've probably seen the headlines. Yep. They weren't investing in oil; they were investing in a spot price, which is not oil prices. It's a spot price. And so what happened is those people lost a lot of money. And I mean, this is right off of the headlines, right? Versus there was a gasoline ETF that actually was pegged to gasoline prices, which would have been the proper way probably to take advantage of that, as I understand it from our wealth management team. So those are the types of things where, you know, people just get it wrong, or the way that they search for things. They'll say, you know, what's getting the best returns, and what they don't see is the amount of risk that's being taken, because maybe the thing that they're putting money into is highly leveraged, and they don't understand that leverage risk and things of that nature. So those are the types of things that we find a lot of times in do-it-yourselfer world. But most of the time when people come in, they're just looking for a plan and somebody to take over that solution. And then in addition, they're getting the planning, they're getting the estate planning, they're getting the tax planning from other folks in our office that all come together and are able to help them out.
They're seeing firsthand the understated value of true time, their time, which is invaluable, and knowledge. And that's the key, having an expert, a partner, someone that's in a relationship with you. Right? The key word is relating. How do they relate to you and you relate to them with the common goal, which is the business of your retirement? Find out today. Today. This is the time for change. Right now. It's a complimentary review with Tim and his team. 855-684-3485. I want to thank you so much for being with us. Be well, everybody, and enjoy your retirement.